Great. Well, manufacturing in the millennial workforce is the next article we're going to talk about, and it's by Robert Means, and it appeared in Wednesday's issue of the Quality Digest newsletter. You can see it right there. Now, Robert Means, he is the Vice President of the Workforce Management Suite at Infor. And Infor is a multinational company that offers a range of cloud-based service, business software and services, I should say, particularly ERP and CRM systems. Now, Means' specialty is making people and organizations more effective. So in the article, he talks about a pretty timely issue, I think, how manufacturers can recruit and retain great young people, something we talked about a lot here on the show. Yep. Now, earlier in the show today, I talked about what the future of manufacturing could look like, ongoing breakthroughs in technology, particularly around really the unbelievably, staggeringly powerful information technology systems have the ability to unlock previously undreamed of levels of efficiency and productivity for really pretty much anybody in industry, any industrial enterprises. If
there's always an if.
There's always an if. If those systems are managed by people who can put information into context and make good decisions. And therein, I think, lies the rub. According to a recent survey from the National Association of Manufacturers, which Robert Means references in this article, attracting and retaining a quality workforce is the #1 business challenge for nearly 3/4 of respondents. Yeah. So in this NAM survey, of all the different things that they consider, these leaders consider to be challenges, almost 3/4, 72.9% of them said it was retaining new people in their business. And the factors that are influencing this issue are very well known. And we've talked about them here, as I said on the show many times. I mean, it's the aging workforce, right? It's the disappearance of apprenticeships. It's the kind of the lack of sexiness for the manufacturing industry. It's the people that aren't coming into STEM education. They aren't getting that training from a young age. All those things combined to make this problem a problem. What's interesting here are the remedies offered to these acknowledged issues that we all really know about. Given that Infor is a technology company, I don't think it's any surprise that Means recommends a technological approach to the solution. And there's really 3 specific options that he mentioned here, and I want to kind of run through them with you fairly quickly and kind of what they mean. The first is a demand-based workforce optimization. And this is a process that considers the various inputs of your system. These are things like supply, demand, machines and manpower, skills and costs, and combines them with worker performance and scheduling preferences. And this results in better job satisfaction as well as increased efficiency. And really what that means is you're really looking at all the inputs that you need to cover in order to get it to an output, and looking at how you would schedule people and bring them in and allow them to optimize, again, given what their availability is, what their skills are, all those things, and allow them to schedule that properly really increases efficiency very greatly. The other one is mobility solutions, and this basically gives your people access to real-time information wherever they may be, and it speeds decision making and allows issues to be addressed proactively. Of course, most millennials, which is the people we're talking about in this piece, have grown up to expect this level of immediate access to information and insight. I mean, you think about this in their lives, in all of our lives, but really in their lives, that you don't expect to wait. If you want to get some information, you should be able to get it just like that. But in many manufacturing systems, that isn't really the case. So you need to kind of get to that. Finally, third and finally, communication. For some manufacturing enterprises, functions like scheduling are still done via pen and paper, binders with a schedule, or post a schedule on the wall. And that's a thought that's probably horrifying to a lot of millennials, but automated systems can fill shifts much more efficiently and consider elements like skill sets and certifications and even overtime status. Again, productivity and worker satisfaction can soar when systems like this are put into place. So I mean, again, going back to scheduling, I mean, you want to be able to fill those roles with people that have the right skills to do it. And as opposed to having to fill out on pen and paper how that's done, you can do it automatically. And again, it'll kind of pull those people in based on what the algorithm of people's skills and their availability, OT, as I mentioned. You want to maybe avoid people that are already working too many hours. Near the end of his article, Means writes this: work the way we live. Workers today expect to find the same technology in their workplace as they use in their everyday lives. They expect the software they use to be as intuitive as their phones and as insightful as the e-commerce sites they visit. Outdated workforce management solutions with cumbersome user interfaces or manual, paper-based processes will frustrate employees. And that's good advice. And I agree with, I think, most everything he says. But there's one thing that I think was interesting that I wanted to kind of push up against a little bit. He really talks about how age is kind of the determining factor to how people use technology, right? He says that millennials really are the ones that have these skills, and if you don't do this, you're not going to retain and attract millennials. But I mean, I'm not the most technologically savvy guy in the world. I know that's a surprise to you, Dirk, but I'm younger than you are by a few decades, and I mean, a decade or two or three. Jeff is a little older than I am as well. You guys are much more technologically savvy than I am, so it's not necessarily just age. There might be a bit of a frame around millennials as being these technologically savvy people, but you want to do it for everybody, not just for millennials. In your organization, you want to have these solutions that make work easier and more effective for everybody, not just people that are in their 30s.
Well, I think actually you touch on an interesting point. Something that I think software developers have kind of finally come to grips with is, for a long time, at least I feel like, software was developed for people who knew how to use software, not for people who didn't know how to use software, which was a problem for older people very often. Is there'd be this great app, and there's somebody who, whether they're a young person or older person, didn't matter. If they'd been working with Windows or Mac forever, they kind of understood, kind of how the interfaces typically work. They'd go in there, they'd start working with them. They could come up to speed very quickly. But for somebody who hadn't, it was kind of like, how do I do this thing? And even if you were taught, it was hard to remember because very often it just wasn't intuitive, and things were convoluted how you got something done. So I think, even though millennials understand inherently how to do this, software companies have come to understand that they've got to make their software something that somebody who's never used a computer before could come up and very quickly learn how to use it.
It's important to do that. And I think that more and more that is. It's becoming much more iterative for anybody. You can just walk up and just right away kind of understand how to apply something and how to use an app or whatever the case may be.